In this video, we're going to break down the 6 steps to getting paid clients. Now, it's a process that can't be rushed, although once you understand it, it can go faster. So pay attention to the whole video. And I had 2 big epiphanies this morning. Number one, I was thinking about the ability to adjust. When circumstances change, we have to adjust. So the world is adjusting right now. You know, the last couple of years has been nothing like anybody could have planned. Obviously, we got, the pandemic and all the stuff that's going on throughout the world. And the only way that you'll be able to adjust is if you understand laws. Rules are rigid. Laws are flexible. So if you understand the laws of creating rapport, you can do different things with different people and arrive at the same level of rapport because you understand the laws, not the rules. But if all you have are the rules, you're going to be rigid. And if anything external that the rules are based on changes, then those rules are no longer going to apply. So I was thinking the only businesses that are still around through the pandemic are the businesses that have been able to adjust. The businesses have been able to change. And then the second big epiphany that I had was that, we've been talking about information and implementation. And in today's class, we're just going to give you the implementation. I think I just accidentally made a new word. And it's got fermentation in there too. So that adds a little after hours, little after hours flavor to it. What did I say? In fermentation. Actually, I really like that actually. So we've been talking about the difference between information and implementation, and what a lot of people are searching for and think there are secrets around is information. Our brain thinks that if you don't have the results that you want right now, we must be at an information deficit, which means other people know things that we don't know. And then we search for the information. A lot of marketers sell information, which is fine. We all need information. But that's not how anything is really going to significantly change. The only thing that's going to cause anything to significantly change is implementation. So I know we've been hammering that. And I was just thinking this morning about what do we as a company actually sell? And, we sell a little bit of information, but primarily it's implementation support. Because what you're going to need is help when you implement stuff, not just information in a packet and then you go off and implement it. Very, very rarely can anybody implement and then support themselves to the point where I've never even seen it. So I say very rarely, but I've never seen anybody be able to take something of significance and try to implement it. And then everything that they thought it was going to look like, it looks exactly like that. Everything is comfortable and familiar, and or the person doesn't need support moving through the discomfort and the unfamiliar. And they understand that if they're experiencing something that misses their expectations, that everybody else is doing it as well. It just doesn't happen. So what's most valuable is support through the implementation process, not more information. All right, let's get into today's class. We're going to talk about clients. The most common question we get asked is some version of, how do I get clients? Last class, we talked about the difference between focus on getting and giving. So if you missed that or you want to go back and look into that, then or refresh that, then do it. That's the energetic piece. What we're going to talk about today is the strategic piece. So last class, I said your seeker's perspective is the most valuable asset you can have. And this class, we're going to talk about exactly how to get it. Now, most coaches don't do this. Most coaches choose not to do this. I think all coaches know they should do this and they choose not to do it for whatever reason. Probably because it's uncomfortable, or it might take longer than we want it to, or something. But this, in my opinion, what we're going to talk about today is the main reason coaches fail, because they don't do what it takes to get the most valuable asset for their business, which is the seeker's perspective. So the concept of finding your seeker rather than putting a target on like an ideal client or an ideal market is that we want to get in front of somebody that's already looking for the lessons that you have. They are already seeking your lessons. They're not seeking you by name. They don't know your name. They're seeking lessons to a problem that they're experiencing, and you have the lessons to a lot of seekers out there. You just might not know exactly how to package it. You might not know how to language it. And if you think about where you are in this process, it's actually almost impossible for us to retain the ability to language before the breakthrough information and seeking. Because if we've already learned the lessons, now we've got looking back wisdom. But looking back wisdom is not the same as looking forward questions. So when you look back and recognize what you did to get over the obstacle, you'll be speaking about it from the opposite side of the obstacle as your seekers are. And that's one of the reasons why the language doesn't match a lot of times, because you have fundamentally changed. And the longer you go beyond your breakthrough, the harder it is to retain before the breakthrough language. And that's why we've got to get the language from our seeker's face, not inside of our head. Because if we do that, we'll just continue to sell the process usually, and people are not looking for the process. They're just looking for the outcome. So many years ago, I created what we now call the seeker interview method, which is basically just go do seeker interviews. And the majority of you are in the business model, and the majority of you are increasing right now your value, your visibility, your certainty in yourself and your skills and your seeker. Most of you need to do this, because there are no cookie cutter approaches for different products. And the reason you need to do this is because you individually are different, which means your product individually is different and your seeker is different. So if your seekers are different than the seekers of whoever else you might be modeling, if you introduce a new seeker with different buying patterns and just different humans, then it's not going to transfer. It's not going to work. So now, one caveat here is if you are selling what I would call a commoditized product, which means what I just said isn't important. You're selling, how to flip houses, how to look for opportunities. You're selling money. You're selling internet security. You're selling things that are more commodities. Then what I'm saying, you can just follow the rules. But if you're a transformational coach, you're different. The product is different. The seeker is different, which means everything needs to come from this unique perspective. Like what you got to do in business needs to be a unique perspective, and you've got to find out what they want. So one of the most common questions we get asked when it comes to marketing is some version of what do I need to say, or what do I need to do, or what do I need to sell to serve my ideal client? And our answer is ask them. They'll tell you. You can either ask them directly, or you can study them and be able to deduce what their answers are if you study them enough. It takes longer than somebody just giving you the right thing to do. But over the course of time, it's way more valuable. It provides so much more certainty for you, and it is more sustainable. So in order to share this whole process, we're going to bring Michelle in, because she did this process, and I'll let her tell you the details. But it's one of the biggest reasons that she has as much certainty and confidence and understanding what people are looking for now, because she put in the work. So I'm going to go off camera and just turn it over to you, Michelle.
Thank you, Sean. Oh, I love so much of what you shared at the beginning. And one of the things I want to re-presence with everybody is the shift from like target, this thing that we're getting, this thing that we're going after, to this perspective of connecting with and being in relationship with this person who is seeking the lessons we have. So this shifts us from being in a chasing, right? I'm running after these people, to a co-creative process with them. So I want to break this down for you in 6 steps. And I want to invite you to um, suspend any of the potential thoughts of, I've already done a version of this before, or I've already done this before. Because if you've done this exact thing before, but you're in a different place, you're growing, you're expanding in your business, it's valuable to do this again. I've done this multiple times. And if you've done a version of this, but not this, it is not the same thing. I have talked to a lot of coaches who've done things similar. And, Sean said at the beginning, what we do is sell information support, implementation support, not just information. So step number 1, I want you to listen to this free training, right? So we'll put a direct link in the description, but it's up on the screen. Listen to this free training. It is a 90-minute video training. So 90 minutes of Coach Sean Smith pulled from inside of a paid multiple $1,000 marketing for coaches program. So this isn't something that we created like as a giveaway. This is actually pulled directly from our content. So listen to this full training. Inside of it, there's the 90-minute video training. There is a Who is Your Seeker exercise and a list of seeker interview questions, which I'll talk about in just a moment. So that's step number 1. Step number 2 is, after you've listened to the training, complete the Who is Your Seeker exercise. Complete it. It will likely bring up a lot of different emotions: joy, anger, frustration, irritation, excitement. Be with all of this. This is an incredibly powerful process to help you identify and connect with a single person. And before you even fully formulate the thought, my stuff helps everybody, I know that it does. I believe that it does. And what I also know for sure is that human beings are much more likely to get up, to do the work for, to support, to help a single person. Oftentimes when we think about everybody, it's really overwhelming, right? But if there's a single person who needs our support, then that's easier to be like, oh, I can answer. Sean talked about this in yesterday's training. I can answer that question, versus thinking about the questions of the masses. So this is really important for you to help hone in on, who is this person that is looking for my lesson. So that's number 2, complete the Who is Your Seeker exercise. Number 3, once you've done that, I want you to identify, and when I say identify, I mean I want you to bullet this out, the top 5 to 10 bullets that describe that person you've identified in the process, right? So the 5 to 10 bullets to describe that human. Now, these might be some external traits like male or female or non-binary or transgender. It might be an age, right? They're 35 to 50, or it's moms, right? Or it could be, and I think a combination of both is ideal, the intrinsic qualities, right? They are high achievers. They are wanting more peace in their life. They are procrastinators. They are people who work in HR departments. That's external. They are disconnected from their spouse, right? They are hard workers, right? Things like that. Not only how would you describe them, how will they be able to self-identify? How will they know you're talking about them? Like, oh, I'm a female, right? Oh, I'm not a mom. Okay. Oh, I am a high achiever, right? I am 35 to 50. So identify those top 5 to 10 bullets that are going to describe this human. Number 4, once you've done that, I want you to create a post for social media. I want you to write an email. I want you to type out a text message, record a short video, whatever you need to do to connect with and get in front of this person you just identified, right? That might sound like I'm doing some market research for my business and I'd love to learn more about, or I'd love to just connect with you and hear your perspective on a few things, or I'd love to hear your answers to some questions that I have. If you relate to, or if you are a person who, and then list out those bullets, right? So I'm doing some market research for my business. I'd love to understand more about your perspective on a few things. So if you are a female between the ages of 35 and 50, if you're a high achiever, if you know you're super hard on yourself and you want to feel more in control in your life, I want to talk to you. Right? Comment below, send me a DM. Or if there are people in your life that you're like, oh my gosh, I know, right? I know that, Becky is that person. Then you can send a direct message and say, hey, Becky, I'm doing some market research for my business. I'd love to understand your perspective on a couple of things. Can we set up a call? I recommend that you do calls. I do not recommend that you send this over email. I do not recommend that you just send them the questions and you get their answers back. This is as much for you as the coach as it is for the process of actually getting their answers. And I recommend that you, if possible, do this over Zoom or a way that you can record this, because you don't want to get paraphrasing of their answers. You want to get their answers. Number 5, and make this be 15 to 30 minutes. Please don't try to do this, like a 2-hour process. Number 5, offer a free coaching consultation as a thank you at the end, right? So offer a free coaching consultation as a thank you at the end. That might sound like, you know what, Becky, as a thank you for helping me, I would love to return the favor and see if I can help you. Would you be open to some coaching support? To address some of the things that are going on in your life that you brought up in this interview today. Here's what I want you to know about this, and I'll tell you my story after I share step number 6. Some people will say no, thank you to that offer of a free coaching consultation. And some people are going to say yes, and then they're going to change their mind and they're not going to show up. And then some people are going to say yes, and they will show up. Offer the free consultation call as a thank you. And number 6, at the end of that consultation call, if there is alignment and you believe you can help them, make a simple offer to work with you. That's the secret interview process that I went through at the beginning. And Sean just put a comment up that is really powerful. And I agree. You're not going to get the results that you want at the start, right? You're just not, because you're learning. If you've never done this before, this is new for you. You're learning with every interview you do, with every ask that you make. You might be pivoting, tweaking the questions, learning, okay, that didn't give me the information that I want. I've got to ask a different question, or, oh, that offer was super awkward. Hope it's a little less awkward next time, right? The only way to do this is to do it, right? And I want you to really hear me on this. The more interviews that you ask for, the more interviews you will hold. And the more interviews you will hold, the more consultation calls you will be able to offer. And the more consultation calls that you are able to offer, the more consultation calls that you will hold. And the more consultation calls you hold, the more offers that you will get to make. And the more offers that you get to make, the more no's that you will hear. And the more yeses you will hear. And the more yeses that you hear, that equals more clients. So the only thing that you control in that is the interviews you ask for. I love y'all, so I'm going to be really real. The number of you who have told me you tried that because you made one social media post, you didn't try. You sort of tossed it out there and hoped that they would come back to you. I want you to care so much about them that you are willing to get this information from them because you want to serve them. People ask me that. Why are you doing this? Because I want to be able to create content that's actually going to serve you. I want to be able to help you. So I can't do that if I don't know where you're coming from. So for me, early on in my journey, one of the things that was great about me is that, and there are a lot, but one of the things that are really great about me is that I just trusted. I trusted what I heard. I trusted Sean, and I did what he said. So he said, do seeker interviews. So I spent weeks doing this early on in my journey. I did a ton of interviews. When I say a ton, I'm sure it's hundreds. I lost count. That's a plural on that, just so you know. I did a ton of interviews. I talked to a lot of people. You guys, I bribed people with coffee, right? Because back then it was pre-COVID, right? So I bribed people with coffee. I got on the phone. I sent text messages. I reached out to people individually. I sent emails. I spoke to people in person. I spoke to people over the phone. I did Zoom recordings. I was so curious about them. And this is by far, hands down, the most valuable work, second only to my own personal development. This is the most valuable work that I did. I mean, it's priceless. And so I want to give you some stats because I think this matters. I said already, hundreds of seeker interviews. I held 46 free consultations from the seeker interviews that I did. So I held 46 free consultation calls. Out of the 46 consultation calls that I had, this was early on in my journey, you guys, through that, developed relationships with 9 paying coaching clients. And I coached 7 people, so 16 total. The 7 people, I gave a full scholarship. So 9 paying coaching clients and 7 full paid coaching scholarships, 16 clients. I earned $12,227 directly from seeker interviews at the beginning of my business. And the reason why I believe that I attracted that money is because I didn't go into these interviews looking to get that money. I went into those interviews caring and curious. And the result of that is client attraction.
Any questions? We're not going to take and answer questions right now just because of time. But thank you, Michelle. Like it's hundreds and over $12,000 back then. And now that would be 1, maybe 2 clients.
Correct.
So there's an evolution process, you guys, that you just can't rush. And your implementation of this, and then you're adjusting, and then you're doubting, and then you're tweaking, and then you asking different questions, and then you having some seeker interviews that are hella long, and then other ones that you learn to shorten it up a little bit, and then you change your questions just a little bit. The process is one of evolving mastery, but it's worth it. They're worth it. I love what you said at the end. You cared and you were curious. That combination of care and curiosity. And so Michelle did hundreds of seeker interviews, and most people do between 3 and 5 Facebook posts. So this message was delivered with love and bluntness and honesty and truth. And if you want to dive deeper, go to that training. It's free. Like Michelle said, it's out of a paid program. And the implementation of this is where your value will come. Not the understanding of it, not the collection of this knowledge, the implementation of it. Now, if you like this video, check out that one right there. We're going to dive into 11 sales tips specifically for coaches to increase your revenue. If you have lessons that you've learned, people are searching for those lessons. Those are a viable product, a potentially viable product. Those are valuable. People are looking for them. If there is a valuable